Every year, right around this time, I have the same conversation with clients. They call, they come by for a review meeting, and they tell me, Nick, my required minimum distribution is coming up. And I'm dreading it. It's going to send my taxes through the roof. And almost every time, my answer is the exact same thing. It's who cares? It's not that big of a deal. You see, required minimum distributions, they have this reputation in our industry of the boogeyman of retirement, the thing that the IRS is going to force upon you. It's this giant tax bomb lurking in the corner and it can't be avoided. And now for some people, that concern is absolutely valid. We'll cover that later in this video. But for a lot of you watching, it's not that big of a deal. And today I'm going to show you exactly which camp of people you fall into when it comes to calculating and taking out and solving a plan for your required minimum distribution. Now, here's the version that everybody's heard. You turn 75, the IRS forces your hand. You got to start pulling money out, whether you need it or not. It's mandatory. It's taxable. Again, doesn't matter if you needed the money or not. And while that's not technically wrong, it's incomplete and misleading because every online article or YouTube video, it treats RMDs like a giant tax crisis. But the size of the actual problem depends on one thing. It's how much you have sitting in your pre-tax IRA or 401k relative to what you're already planning on spending. If you've been following my advice and spreading out your retirement savings into a Roth, savings, taxable brokerage, and your 401k, you have nothing to worry about. Your RMD is going to be a rounding error. It's money you were going to take out anyway. The IRS just told you it's now time. If you've oversaved into your 401k, different conversation. See, now we're talking about real taxes. We got a real problem. We need to figure out how to solve for it. And most people, they don't know which category they fall into. Now, before we dive in, I want to show how your required minimum distribution is actually calculated. What you're going to do is take your December 31st balance, and you're going to divide it by your life expectancy chart that we have up here on the screen. So for most folks in their 50s or 60, the first year of RMD eligibility is 75. So for example, if we have $600,000 sitting in our IRA, we're going to divide it by that number we see next to 75, which is 24.6. That gives us about $24,000 that we have to spend for our RMD. Once you've solved for your RMD, what I want you to do is compare that number to what you were already planning on spending to cover your retirement expenses. So, for example, we'll say you need $10,000 a month in retirement, and your Social Security provides you about $5,000 a month. So your shortfall, you need to take out $50,000 roughly from your IRA to reach that number. So once we have that number, we can compare that to our projected RMD and see whether or not we have a required minimum distribution problem or not. And that comparison, putting those two numbers side by side, that's the whole ballgame. End of story, end of video, almost. And so based off your RMD and your retirement spending, I've found that folks fall into one of three categories. Now, the first category, it's an easy one. It's where your required minimum distribution is smaller than what you were already planning to spend or take out. In this case, you don't have an RMD problem. So in our example, if you need $50,000 a year and your RMD only adds up to $25,000, well, you're already spending more than your RMD, so your required minimum distribution isn't creating a problem or a new tax bill. Your spending satisfies that RMD. You're good to go. Category number two, this is where your required minimum distribution is close to what you'd already be spending, but it bumps you into a new tax bracket that you weren't expecting. And now we need to have a real conversation. It's manageable, and we'll come back to how to solve for this later in the video, but know that the second category, it puts you in a tax bracket that's higher than we'd like to see. And the third category is when your required minimum distribution is significantly larger than what you actually need to spend. And this is the group that actually has the problem. And ironically, this is the group that has no idea how big of a tax impact their future RMD is going to have until it's too late. Now, if you're watching this and you're not sure which of these three categories you're in, this is exactly the kind of thing I sit down with folks and help map out. Not as a standalone tax question, but as a part of your bigger picture of what your money needs to do for the life you actually want. Click on the link in the description below if you want a second set of eyes on it. Now, let me show you what category one actually looks like in real life. We're going to put this side by side. So we'll say Robert and Sophia, they're in their early 70s, married, filing jointly, and combined they have Social Security of $52,000 a year, and their spending needs is about $90,000. And Robert, he's got $600,000 in his IRA, and his first required minimum distribution is just around the corner. Now, they came to me convinced that this was going to wreck their entire tax picture because of something they read online. But here's their math: $600,000 divided by 24.6, it's about $22,000 a year. And before their RMDs, they're already planning to pull $45,000 from that IRA on top of Social Security to get to that $90,000 spending need. So you can see here the RMD didn't add one new taxable dollar. No. See, the 22,000 was just part of the 45,000 they were already taking from that account. And so that 22,000 simply satisfied their requirement. That other 23,000 came out because they needed it. So again, same total, same tax bill, nothing changed except who initiated it, the IRS versus them. So zero effect on their life and their tax. That's category number one. Now, let's meet Frank and Janet. Same spending needs as Robert and Sophia of $90,000 a year, but they have $2.4 million all in Frank's 401k. Our Social Security combined, it's about $48,000 a year. And to cover the gap from Social Security, they've been pulling about $50,000 to $60,000 a year from their IRA. Their combined RMD, when we do the math, is about $90,000 a year. It's about $30,000 to $40,000 more than what they're already spending. And this trend is going to continue for the rest of their lives. And not only is the account likely to continue to grow through market growth and compounding, but their RMD is also going to continue to grow either through market growth or also because of the math and the expectancy tables where we have to take out more each year. Plus, in this situation, if either of them was working part-time or had a pension, that number is going to push them into an even higher tax bracket. Now, here's what I want you to actually sit with for a second. Frank and Janet did not end up here because they made a mistake. They ended up here because they were told for the last 30 years, max out your 401k. Don't touch it. Let it compound. You see, no one ever told them over saving into a 401k would lead to a giant tax headache decades down the road. And I see this pattern constantly with people who have saved for their entire careers. It's the same discipline that got them to retirement confidently, but it's that double-edged sword where it can quietly become the thing that keeps you from actually living. You built a number. You were striving for a number, but nobody helped you build a plan for what that number was supposed to fund. And that's really what RMDs, in my opinion, are exposing for a lot of people in the third category. It's not just a tax problem. It's a tax problem plus a spending permission problem. You see, if you're like Frank and Janet, you have over $2 million and you're still living like you might run out of money. Or that every year of retirement is going to be the exact same and you're not spending until you're forced to. And this is why this matters so much. Because like I just mentioned, not every year of retirement is created equal. There's a stretch early in your retirement that we call the go-go years, where you've got the health, the energy, the freedom to travel, to chase the big trips, to do the things at a pace that you simply won't be able to match in your late 70s and 80s. And that window's short. It's about 10, maybe 15 years, and it doesn't come back. And here's the part that gets me. For so many of the people that I've sat across that have saved diligently for decades, like Frank and Janet, it's not something significant that finally gets them to spend in those window years. It's actually the RMD that forces them to. Your money should follow the life you want to build. You're in control. It's not the other way. See, this conversation that we're having now shouldn't come because of a government mandate telling you to take money out. It should come from you in your 50s and your 60s deciding, what is this money actually for? How do I create a plan that helps me live my most fulfilled, genuine, and authentic life? So if you have questions about, hey, can I spend this money right now? What does a plan look like? Am I overspending, underspending? I don't want to end up in this RMD jail over here. I don't want taxes, those types of things. Click on the link in the description below. We'll sit down. We'll have a conversation, whether it's over the phone or via Zoom. We'll talk through how do we create a plan that allows you to live your most fulfilled and authentic life so we can avoid this RMD tax bomb. Now, what do we actually do about it? If you're in the third category and you're still working, here's the honest truth. There's not much you could do because likely if you're in the third category and you're still working, you're more than likely in the highest tax bracket that you'll find yourself over your lifetime. And so doing Roth conversions, bracket filling, it probably doesn't make sense right now. You'd just be paying more money today at a higher rate to avoid tomorrow's problem. So what does make sense is to stop making the problem bigger. And here are 3 ways you could do that if you're still working. The first one is to start redirecting new savings into a taxable brokerage account. Now, you could do this in one of 2 ways. And keep getting your 401k match. But if you've already oversaved into your 401k, you may want to have a second thought of whether or not you max out your 401k versus putting money into a brokerage. What this is going to do is it's going to add flexibility by having money into your brokerage account that is simply capital gains versus ordinary income. Right? See, every dollar that we take out of our 401k is going to be ordinary income. It's going to spike our tax rates, whereas our money taken out from our brokerage account is either return of principal or tax that capital gain. And if we do our job well enough, as you'll see here on the screen, in retirement, we may be even able to achieve the holy grail of tax planning, which is taking out distributions at the 0% tax level for capital gains. The second thing you need to do is utilize what's called a mega backdoor Roth. If your 401k allows it, after tax contributions, some plans let you contribute well beyond the normal $23,500 limit and all the way up to the plan limit of around $70,000 into an after-tax bucket, which you then are able to move out of the plan and convert to a Roth IRA. That's tens of thousands of dollars a year that can go into tax-free growth instead of your 401k that, as we know, add up into future RMD tax problems. So not every plan offers this, but check with your plan document, ask your HR team. Now, the third one, very similar, just on a smaller scale, a backdoor Roth IRA. If your income's too high to contribute to a Roth directly, you can contribute to an after-tax dollars into a traditional IRA. It's a smaller lever, right? About $7,500 a year, but it's legal, straightforward way to keep building your tax-free bucket even in your peak earning years. Now, if you're in your 60s with a decade or more before your required minimum distributions, this is the window where you have some room left to work with. And this is where, now, if we've stopped working, Roth conversions are huge, and we can do them systematically, meaning we have the choice to intentionally move money from our traditional IRA out of it and into a Roth and pay the tax now at a rate you can control rather than later where it's going to be in the future. Because if you're not working anymore, your income is often at its lowest point of your adult life, maybe before RMDs and Social Securities, which means you now have room to convert to a meaningful chunk at the 12, maybe at the highest 22%, instead of watching RMDs push you into a bigger tax bracket. And the second one is called bracket filling. Whether you're doing a Roth conversion or an IRA distribution just to take more money out because you need it, the theory is the same. Instead, what you're doing is converting or taking distributions out each year just enough to fill up to the top of whatever's left in that bracket without spilling into the next one, right? Small, repeatable, and adds up over a decade. The goal with both here is to deliberately shrink your pre-tax balance during the years you control the bracket. And while you're still in those go-go years, to actually enjoy the freedom that it brings. Now, if you're already taking required minimum distributions and you're in this category number 3, it's not too late, but you do have fewer options. Now, you can't go and undo an RMD once it's required, and you can't convert your way out of the same way you did in your 60s, but there's still one more lever left, and it's called the qualified charitable distribution. So if you're charitably inclined at all, you can actually send some or all of your RMD directly from your IRA into a qualified charity, a nonprofit. And that portion never counts as taxable income. Now, it's not a deduction, it just never shows up on your return in the first place. For someone already giving to causes they care about, that alone can bring a chunk of your unwanted tax income back down without ever changing a dollar. So as we wrap up here, here's the test. Take your current IRA 401k balance, end of the year, 12/31. You divide it by that first figure. We'll use 75 for an example. So that first multiple in the IRS table is 24.6. There's your RMD. Now you compare that to what you're already planning to withdraw each year in retirement. Add in things like Social Security or a pension, and we'll see if we have a spending gap. If your RMD is smaller than what you're spending, you could rest easy. But if your RMD is considerably bigger, then we got some planning to do. Now, the number that ever mattered here was never the RMD itself. It's the RMD compared to what you actually needed and the math behind that, and whether you've actually decided what this money is for and when. So if you have questions about how much you can safely spend to maximize your retirement and build your most meaningful and fulfilled life the way you actually want, not the government calling the shots, click on the link in the description below, book a call, and we'll look at your real number, your real spending, and tell you honestly what your go-go years could actually look like. Thanks so much for watching. In our next video, we'll walk through the exact number you actually need to retire comfortably at any age.